It is a great honor to be here to celebrate Black History Month with all of you, and in particular, the United Methodist Women of Ezion. For more than half a century, we have come together each February to reflect on how African Americans across our nation, our state, and our city have traveled on this long road toward equality and freedom. As many of you know, history is the study of the human past, and the past has left many traditions, folk tales, works of art, archaeological objects, and books or written records of our accomplishments and contributions as a people. But the purpose of most recorded history is to draw valuable lessons for which we can build on and improve our lot in life. What we learn is largely determined by the accuracy and availability of the information to which our children and families are exposed. For instance, until the advent of Black History Month, our children learned all of their history from their elders, or sadly, when they were studying the plight of slavery in the South prior to the Civil War. So you can imagine the confusion in our culture where we learned of the significant contributions of African Americans from our elders, but then to go to school and only hear of the toil and struggles of slavery. Now, no matter where you live in the month of February, the airwaves and social media channels are flooded with commercials, posts, tweets, and memes of Black history that go far beyond slavery and civil rights. I believe, as many as you do, that it's paramount that we teach our children that there is more to our history than our ancestral enslavement. And it begins with the basic truth. Black history is American history. Just reflect on some names for me for a moment. Frederick Douglass, Sojourner Truth, Harriet Tubman, Martin Luther King, Malcolm X, Nikki Giovanni, W.E.B. Du Bois, Rosa Parks. How different would our country be without these leaders and the myriad of others who fought for civil rights? These individuals helped us learn what strength is, what perseverance is. They broke down barriers. They stood against injustice. They helped us pull together as a nation and overcome our darkest days. These pioneers and so many others helped us build toward a greater nation where people are judged by the content of their character, not the color of their skin. And it's not just civil rights where African Americans have made their mark. Think about music. How would music be without Louis Armstrong, Aretha Franklin, Michael Jackson, Whitney Houston, Tupac Shakur, or Beyonce? Without African American contributions to music, we will be without jazz, the blues, rap, hip hop, R&B, and arguably even rock and roll. Or how about these? In literature, Maya Angelou and Ralph Ellison. In science, George Washington Carver and Neil deGrasse Tyson. Entrepreneurship, Madam C.J. Walker and Dr. Dre. Sports, Michael Jordan and Muhammad Ali. In politics, Shirley Chisholm and our President, Barack Obama. The list could go on and on. African Americans have made enormous impacts in every single area of American life. And because Black history is American history, it is incumbent upon all of us to ensure that our children, our families, and our communities understand that our history is richer than Martin, Malcolm, or Rosa. Many of our children are shocked to learn that Henry Ford bought the concept plans for the first automobile from a Black man. Adults are shocked about it too, because some of us don't know. They're just as shocked to learn that the ironing board, home security system, feeding tube, caller ID, and call waiting were invented by African American women. Not alone that from the film, we just learned that we also helped put man on the moon, right? Okay. They swell with pride when they hear the courage and personal bravery of women like Ida B. Wells, Angela Davis, Fannie Lou Hamer, or Marva Collins. And I love to watch their amazement when they find out that highly developed Black empires exist in many parts of Africa, hundreds and even thousands of years ago. And that's why let's honor our past, celebrate our present, and inspire our future is more than a theme for today's event. It's an important call to action. History has its purpose, but it also has its place. Our forward momentum as a people can be slowed and even become stagnant if we rest on our laurels or dwell too much on the past. Don't get me wrong. It's good to reflect on the accomplishments of Martin, Malcolm, and Rosa, but only if it motivates and inspires us to press on. Dwelling too much on the past can create deference to the present. Far too often, we find ourselves so busy rejoicing over or content with our past gains in the areas of civil rights that we forget how far we still have to go. Something needs to stir the waters of complacency that overshadow the fact that inequity still exists. Consider this. Our average income is still significantly lower than our white counterparts. We are still the last to be hired and the first to be fired in most cases. Our communities are still the major target for illegal drugs and gun distribution. We are still rejected for bank loans at an alarmingly high rate. We still make up the largest percentage of the incarcerated. We still register too small in numbers to be considered upwardly mobile. Too many of us are still living paycheck to paycheck. And do Black lives really matter? History has its place, but rest too long on your laurels, as the saying goes, and you may end up with nothing but your laurels to rest on. Black history is our history, and we should take pride in our significant contributions, but it becomes less and less satisfying as I watch our struggle in our underperforming schools, the violent crime that continues to ravage our communities, the increase of single mothers and absent fathers, and subpar housing or blight in our neighborhoods. Again, don't misunderstand me. It was great to have President Barack Obama in the White House, Loretta Lynch and Eric Holden as our U.S. Attorney General, and our brother on the Supreme Court. But justice is still unjust when prisons are still filled with just us. It's great that the Constitution gives us the right to vote, but the amendment is worthless if states enact laws that make it difficult for us to vote. It's great to have the opportunity to go to college, but the opportunity is worthless if too many of our children end up flunking out because of inadequate and an inferior education, or for those graduating, they do so with a mountain of debt. It's wonderful to teach racial tolerance to our children and families, but we also need to teach it to others to reduce incidents of racial profiling from loan officers to police and everyone in between. Our history's reflection can be wonderfully satisfying, but we must be aware of letting it ruin our appetite and passion for progress. There is still much work to be done to obtain our fair distribution of the American pie. Our history is steeped in Black tradition, which has always shown us that the hope for change always begins in the Black church. Our churches have been the catalyst for revolutionizing and transforming our circumstances. We must not stop now. As African Americans, and in particular African American women, we must continue to honor our past and the giants whose shoulders we stand. We must use their example to fuel our passion, hasten our work, and propel us forward toward justice and through new doorways of opportunities. Shirley Chisholm did when she became the first Black woman elected to the U.S. Congress and the first Black woman to run for president. Charlotte Ray, she did it when she became the country's first Black female lawyer. Aletha Gibson did it when she became the first Black to play in and win a Wimbledon tennis title. Toni Morrison, she did it when she became the first Black woman to win the Nobel Peace Prize. Mae Jemison did it when she became the first Black woman astronaut. Oprah Winfrey did it when she became the first Black woman to host a major network TV show and the first Black woman to become a self-made billionaire. Not million, billionaire. Shonda Rhimes did it when she became the first black woman to create and executive produce multiple top 10 primetime television series like Grey's Anatomy, Scandal, and How to Get Away with Murder. 3 of my favorite shows. These women took a risk to save the world and make it a better place, and they did it in the face of racial and gender discrimination. Locally, we honor the legacy of pioneers like Hattie Phelan, the first black woman to serve on Wilmington City Council. Henrietta Johnson, the first black woman elected to the Delaware State House of Representatives. Margaret Rose Henry, the first black woman elected to the Delaware State Senate. These awesome women paved the way for many others, including Velda Jones Potter, the first black woman elected treasurer of the city of Wilmington. Lisa Blunt Rochester, the first black woman elected, elected to the Congress for Delaware, and yours truly, the first woman elected president of Wilmington City Council. We stand on their shoulders. Thank you. We stand on each other's shoulders, and we are all benefiting because of our courage and sacrifice. We laid the foundation, but progress hasn't and won't come easy. It should be our mission, individually and collectively, to change the narrative so that young African Americans see themselves as part of a narrative of heroism in their history. In discussing African American history, don't start with slavery, but rather with the volumes of materials that young people can be proud of. We need to recount and pass down a history that is both enabling and ennobling, so that our children know that there are people who look like them, who have fought, bled, and died for the freedoms they enjoy today and often take for granted. We must also do our part to combat injustice, inequality, and any threat to civil rights, and more broadly, human rights. In the words of Desmond Tutu, if you are neutral in situations of injustice, you have chosen the side of the oppressor. If an elephant has its foot on the tail of a mouse, and you say that you are neutral, the mouse would not appreciate your neutrality. So I want to challenge you to take this Black History Month and think of our place in history today. Which side of history will you stand on? We all know we still have a lot of problems, and that many of those problems can be traced to racism. You only have to read the news to see how injustice still affects the Black community today. Don't be neutral. Make a commitment that you won't look the other way when the elephant stands on the mouse's tail. Make a promise to yourself to speak up when you see injustice. It's not an easy ask or an easy task, but the same courage displayed throughout our history is worth examining today. We need everyday heroes standing and speaking out for what they believe is right. To effectively deal with the challenges of today, we need the same sense of urgency, the same willingness to do our part. Each of us as parents, educators, and leaders must do our part. Government won't get us to the promised land, and no one will write our destiny or define our legacy. It is in our hands. I again thank you for the honor of speaking with you today. It has truly been a pleasure. Thank you.